The spacecraft is locked and loaded, safety inspections are complete, and the countdown has begun. India's third homegrown moon mission, Chandrayaan-3, is all set to take off from the Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota. This will happen on Friday at 2:35 p.m. India's third lunar mission aims to demonstrate ISRO's ability to complete a soft landing on the surface of the moon. The craft will consist of a lander and a rover. The rover is called Pragyan, which translates to wisdom in Sanskrit, and will sit inside the lander during its descent on the moon. The lander is fondly named Vikram, after Vikram Sarabhai, the founder of India's space program. And all of this will be lofted on a propulsion rocket called the Launch Vehicle Mark III that has been nicknamed Bahubali. A question to ask, why Bahubali? Well, the mighty rocket developed by ISRO is unmatched in its class. It weighs as much as 130 Asian elephants and has a success rate of 100%. In the Indian folklore, the moon is often referred to as Chanda Mama, where the moon is referred to as a loving uncle. Not just India, Western countries too have had a tryst with the moon, which extends to folklore. NASA named its maiden moon mission Artemis, which according to Greek literature personifies the moon as a female goddess. 4 years after it broke many hearts, ISRO's Chandrayaan will take off for its third moon exploration mission in just about a few hours. It aims to complete a soft landing on the lunar surface, something its predecessor Chandrayaan-2 could not. What is a soft landing, you ask? Well, a soft landing means a controlled landing of a spacecraft on a celestial surface without causing any damage to the craft. Anticipating failure scenarios like the one in September 2019, Chandrayaan-3 has been designed with a failure-based design instead of a success-based design. Now, a failure-based design is essentially the ISRO putting fail-safes in the spacecraft that will ensure successful landing on the moon, even if something goes wrong. From potential sensors and engine failures to algorithm and calculation errors, the new craft is equipped with all safeguards based on the learnings from Chandrayaan-2's failure. Chandrayaan-3 will also have additional fuel, while its capability to travel to an alternate landing site has also been enhanced. For example, the identified landing spot on the moon's south pole has been extended from 2.5 kilometers to 4 kilometers, giving more flexibility to the lander. However, the experiments Chandrayaan-3 is scheduled to carry out are pretty much the same, which includes studying the moon's thermophysical environment, its seismic activity, and the lunar surface's elemental composition.
Chandrayaan-3 has a similar goal as that of Chandrayaan-2, with some small variations in terms of the scientific objectives that we want to do. Last time in the Chandrayaan-2, we could not achieve the soft landing, and hence the lander and the rover, where the scientific experiments were incorporated, could not be accomplished. So this time what we are doing is those missions, those part of the mission is the focus, achieve the soft landing. Then after the soft landing, rover and lander will do the scientific experiments, send the data to us.
So many things what we are doing the testing on the ground, it won't come up. It will happen during flight only. And this especially will happen in that the all first missions. So that only exactly happened during Chandrayaan-2 mission, and that really gave us a lot of the clue and a lot of places where we need to attend to that. The one was on the propulsion area, where it is the dispersions level in certain regions of flight is more than what we thought that's happened. And the second one was that the guidance system was not designed for such a large dispersion, So because of that one, it's misbehaved, and instead of reducing the thrust level, it actually started increasing the thrust. Opposite actually its function.
And if all goes well, according to plan, Chandrayaan-3 will land on the moon's surface on 23rd or 24th of August. But here's the interesting bit. The landing will only happen when the sun rises on the moon. This is because the rover is supposed to conduct experiments on the moon for 1 lunar day, which is about 14 Earth days. So sunlight is of utmost importance. If the sun does not rise on the moon between 23rd and 24th, the next window for the rover to land on the moon will open up only in late September. Now, we've long flirted with the moon, but why is India's space mission going there? For starters, the moon is the closest cosmic body at which discovery of a celestial body can be attempted. ISRO has been exploring the lunar world for over 10 years now. India's rendezvous with the moon started with Chandrayaan's maiden flight, which ended up in the discovery of water on the moon's surface. Because of its proximity, the moon makes for a promising test bed to demonstrate technologies required for deep space missions in the future. It will also be a landmark moment in India's quest of interplanetary mission, one that includes landing on Mars as well.
Essentially, the same three constituent elements of the Chandrayaan-3, like the orbiter, which is now called the propulsion module, the lander, and the rover, are still there. The orbiter part is not having any significant payloads like last time. Its primary job being take the lander and the rover to a 100-kilometer orbit around the moon after the injection to the Earth orbit. This time the propulsion module is not improved. We removed the payload elements and it is given task only to do the function of reaching it up to the moon. And the second part is the lander is now heavier by almost 200 kilogram plus. What we did is there are many more changes done in the lander, primarily to handle higher velocities of landing. It has new sensors which will take care of the sensor failures if at all it happens. It has new algorithms and software sitting there which are made wider to handle. Its control and guidance algorithms and softwares have been modified and capable of handling multiple paths of travel to reach the land.
Now, if ISRO is successful in soft landing the rover on the moon, it will mark India's arrival as a power in space exploration and the new frontier of space commerce. India will then be able to secure its spot in the elite club of countries that have completed a soft landing, making it only the 4th country in the world to do so. Only the US, the former Soviet Union, and China have made successful lunar landings. An attempt by a Japanese startup earlier this year ended with the lander crashing, while a rover from the UAE suffered a similar fate last year.
Moon has been well studied. I think the astronauts from US have gone many times to moon and collected samples and brought there. Russians have not gone physically, but they have sent robots there, and other nations also did. But mind you, our Chandrayaan-1 discovered the presence of water molecules on the moon. So if you ask this question, what you are going to find new, there is always an element of surprise in this. So what you can find is always dependent on how good your instruments are, how good your ability to detect new scientific findings are.
It's going to be a game changer. I'm assuming and I hope that it will be a successful mission. Because whatever is the problem in Chandrayaan-2, actually we are correcting the whole thing through a failure. From the failure we have understood. But then what I hope is afterwards this could make some kind of an inspiration to the entire country. I'm happy to note that the entire country is now anxiously waiting for this launch. That is something interesting.
Now, apart from India, the United States is also closely watching Chandrayaan-3. Although the US was the first to put a man on the lunar surface, it was ISRO's Chandrayaan that was the first to pick up signs of water on the moon. NASA, in fact, too, used ISRO's findings and pictures for their future explorations. So India may have been a little late to the party, but its research and development capabilities put it on par with global leaders, making ISRO a force to reckon with. The timing of the mission is equally important. It comes right at the heels of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first state visit to the US, where India joined the coveted Artemis Accord. The Artemis Accord is an agreement signed by 26 other countries with an aim to send a manned mission to the moon by 2025. Not just India, the entire world is waiting for Chandrayaan 3's success. As they say, third time lucky. The experiments the rover will conduct on the moon are likely to yield some significant findings that are going to be valuable not just to ISRO, but other space agencies globally as well.
It's a very important announcement after the visit of our Honorable Prime Minister and the discussion that followed with the President of the US, that an intent for taking one of our astronauts on board the International Space Station has been arrived at. Now we have to work out the rest of the details, which includes the training program, how many of them will undergo training for the human space flight, and how long they will spend time on the ISS, and which vehicle will take them, what scientific experiments they will do, and along with them whether other people will be trained, and whether it will be a one-time flight or multiple times flight. All these are under discussion at various levels between ISRO and NASA. And we are hoping that we will be able to conclude it in short time and arrive at a implementing arrangement or MOU or whatever before by next month or so, or maybe not more than 2 months.
Not just the moon, India's third lunar mission can help us understand if there is life on any other planet. It's been called a museum of the solar system. It's been called a geological time capsule. The moon has been undisturbed for over 4.5 billion years and has answers to questions about the formation of continents on Earth, the first traces of an ocean, and even the origin of life. Experts say the moon is an excellent launchpad for further space exploration. I'm getting into a little bit of technicality, but let me explain this as simply as possible. The gravitational pull on the moon is slightly weaker than on Earth. This means that the escape velocity in deep space and on Mars is much lower. So the low gravitational pull on the moon can provide a great platform to establish human settlements and become a gateway to Mars. If we know how to conquer the moon, it will open the doors to exploration of Mars and possibly other planets as well.
Yes, definitely. That is one of the reasons we are going around South Pole. And South Pole, if we are finding that there is a lot of water is available, and also that you know that the gravity of the moon is only 1/6 of the Earth, this one, and launching from there to Mars, will be much easier than there is no atmosphere. That is another advantage, this one. So there is a launching from moon to Mars will be much simpler in technologically than launching from Earth. So definitely that in the mission to Mars, the moon can really work as an outpost, so that he can work in between a stepping stone, and that is a pathway to go to the other planets, this one.
Let's now look at the spot where Chandrayaan 3 aims to land. It's the south pole of the moon at a latitude of about 70 degrees. This is the same spot where Chandrayaan 2 attempted to make a soft landing. And here's what makes the south pole of the moon so interesting. The moon's south pole has abundant water ice, which can become an essential resource for future crewed missions to the moon and possibly even to Mars. If things go as planned, India may become the first country to touch down near the moon's south pole, a region that has become a hotspot for future missions. Till now, all spacecraft aimed for the moon have either landed on the lunar equator or a few degrees south or north of the equator. Now, the polar region of the moon is a very tricky terrain. Some areas of the polar region either lie in utter darkness or receive only a speck of sunlight. So it's pitch dark, and extremely cold temperatures can lead to electric equipment malfunctioning. And then there's the crater problem. The South Pole is crammed with craters, some that are thousands of kilometers long, which adds to the trouble of soft landing.
Yes, during sunrise in the moon, I told you, because of that, we are depending on the sunlight for power generation. When there is no sunlight, there is no power for the entire satellite. And so we have to depend on the sunlight conditions. The sunlight conditions are essential to ensure that our modules are healthy and live. So that's what that we are expecting that should be done at lunar day. That is particular day. That is a reason we are doing. Now, why South Pole? They say all the landing till now has happened near the equator, and the South Pole is the more shadowed region in the moon. So it was expected that the water content will be more there, and also there is that because of it, the shadows condition, there is a lot of new signs can come, and nobody has gone till now to the South Pole. That's what, to get better science understanding, and this one, so that we are planning to go to South Pole of the moon.
Landing spot is also almost the same, because it is almost 70 degrees to the South Pole. And this location has been selected last time also, where there is sufficient illumination of the sun, but it is closer to the South Pole, where we have more scientific interest, because the equatorial region, which is very safe for landing, which is enough solar power and the risks are lower, has already been surveyed, and a lot of scientific data is already available. So if at all we have to make a very significant scientific outcome out of this mission, it is better to go to the pole. And why? That's why we selected a place closer to the pole, but it has higher risks of landing safely.
And so in a few hours, you and I will be looking at India making history once again. ISRO is leaving absolutely no stone unturned this time. In fact, ISRO chief S. Somnath, along with a team of scientists, offered prayers at the Tirupati temple this morning. The team carried a miniature of Chandrayaan 3 to seek blessings ahead of ISRO's indigenous mission to the moon. And I hope they know that 1.4 billion people will be praying for Chandrayaan's success on Friday. With that, it's a wrap from me. Thanks for watching.
India's rendezvous with the moon. Chandrayaan 3 prepped for takeoff.
Mood is really excellent, and everybody is having waiting for the great moment of landing on the moon.
A new dawn beckons for Naya Bharat.
We have incorporated a lot of inputs from Chandrayaan 2 into Chandrayaan 3 on this part of the landing site, and we have widened the domain of landing for better possibility of landing.
Get moonstruck with Mirror now. Join us as India aims for the moon. India on the moon. Continuous coverage only on Mirror now.